The Science of Mind Center, Church of Religious Science, officially opened its doors on August 5th, 1973, under the leadership of Reverend Elsie Hipps. Services were held in 3 small rooms at 146 Broadway in Daytona Beach. Four people attended the first service. The original meeting space could only accommodate 10 to 12 people, but by removing partitions from the 2 smaller rooms, the larger room could hold as many as 30 people. The first board of directors was elected in November 1973. They were Bob Vance, Ruth Herbine, Carl Hubner, Anita Purcell, Trebu Trout, and Reverend Elsie Hipps. The church's first wedding took place in December 1973, and the first baptism was in July 1974. On January 23, 1975, the church received full church status as a covenanted member church with the United Church of Religious Science, and in March received Certificate of Incorporation with the state of Florida under the name First Church of Religious Science of Greater Daytona, Incorporated. As membership grew, the congregation soon outgrew its quarters, and they began to search for a larger location. In November 1975, they found an available rental church facility at 428 Tomoka Road in Ormond Beach. About a year later, the property became available for purchase, and the congregation took ownership in February 1977. The members paid off the mortgage in a short period of time. In addition to contribution from a generous donor, enjoyable fundraisers were conducted by members, including children. A burning of the mortgage party took place on April 3, 1981. Reverend Elsie was a tremendous motivator and leader in the church and the greater community. She was instrumental in revitalizing the Halifax Area Ministerial Association and regularly took part in their Easter services at the bandshell. She brought popular and renowned performers and speakers to the church, such as a particularly memorable appearance by Reverend Dr. William Hornaday in November 1981. She was a dynamic teacher. The first class of religious science professional practitioners graduated in 1981. They were Faye Wright, Carol Vance, Ruth Herbine, Carol Mary, Trebu Trout, and Bob Vance. Reverend Elsie eventually moved to Orlando to start the new school for religious science ministers. Reverend Don Thompson served as interim minister until Reverend David Carter was hired. Reverend David served with wit and charm, remaining active in the church leadership long after his retirement. Other ministers who served the church as senior ministers were Reverend Donald Barnett, Reverend Jim Crawford, Reverend Beth McClaren, Reverends Ernest and Florence Phillips, and Reverend Glow Heft. In 2000, the church changed its name to Positive Living Center, and the church sold the Ormond Beach building in 2004. After his retirement from ministry, Reverend Bob Vance faithfully served as an unofficial staff minister, working with Reverend David Carter to fulfill the church's responsibilities and lead the congregation until a senior minister could be found. The center relocated 3 times in search of a new church home. Reverend Deedee Wilcheck was hired as interim minister in 2007, bringing new life to the center. The center's music directors at the time were David Stork and Deborah Bevilacqua-Stork, who were completing their degrees in ministerial consciousness studies at Holmes Institute. Eventually, they partnered with Reverend Deedee until she officially transferred leadership of the center in January 2008. By this time, the church was renting an office space at 1124 Belleville Road and holding Sunday services in a dance studio. In August 2008, the church purchased a new church home at 1301 Belleville Road for Sunday services, classes, and events. United Centers for Spiritual Living, our home office at the time, and International Centers for Spiritual Living integrated in 2011 to form our international organization, Centers for Spiritual Living. In support and allegiance to that shift at an international level, Positive Living Center changed its name to Center for Spiritual Living, Daytona Beach. In June 2013, the second graduating practitioner class, 32 years after the first class, was honored at an installation ceremony. The graduating practitioners were Sarah Cody, Luann Hedrick, Carol Mary, and Janet Wita. The center hosted an ordination ceremony honoring Reverend David and Reverend Deborah in February 2014, which was attended by the Leadership Council of Centers for Spiritual Living, Reverend Dr. Ken Gordon, Centers for Spiritual Living Community Spiritual Leader, Reverend Dr. John Waterhouse, President of Centers for Spiritual Living, Reverend Dr. Kathy Hearn, former Community Spiritual Leader of United Centers for Spiritual Living, and many other dignitaries and special guests. In January 2015, the center joyously celebrated the burning of the mortgage. "40 years of service finds this church center well established in its community, active in various service projects, and deeply committed to the teaching of the Science of Mind philosophy. Supported by a loyal and active board of directors, including Reverend David Stork, President, Alan Fry, Vice President, Reverend Deborah Bevilacqua-Stork, Executive Secretary, Carol Mary, Secretary, and Sarah Cody, Treasurer. The Center's focus is a mission and ministry as a loving, prosperous spiritual community, embracing transformative spiritual tools, expressing full, rich, meaningful lives, practicing and teaching science of mind principles, a way of life honoring all paths of truth, revealing a world that works well for everyone.